Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.
When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. Rowpaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Thursday to you. What is today? Wednesday. Feels like a Thursday because we're leaving town, but it is a Wednesday. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. Hope you're having a good start to your Wednesday. He is Jordan Kaye. My name is BJ Rains, and we are here for the next 30 minutes or so talking Boise State football. New article out from Ross Dellinger. I wanted to get Jordan's thoughts on relegation system in college football. We got plenty to talk about as well with the team. We'll be talking to some players here in a little bit, and then it is on to San Diego. Jordan Kaye, how's it going, man? You're muted, Jordan. Let's see. Unmute yourself. There you go. You're good.
Can you?
Yep, you're good. Nope, you muted yourself again. There you go.
There we go. Okay, good. Doing good.
Pretty early for Jordan here, guys. You got to cut him a little slack. He was emailing me late at night working on a story, so we will give you a little bit of slack today. Starting conference play on Friday night, Boise State at San Diego State. I was doing some research this morning, working on my story for Friday, Jordan, on Mountain West championships for Boise State and just how it's been a little bit of a struggle of late. Any idea off the top of your head how many players on Boise State's team have a ring as a Mountain West champion?
Okay, I can think. Riley Smith, DJ Schramm, Dimitri Washington.
3.
I'll say maybe I'm missing Billy Bowens.
Yep.
Steph Cobbs.
Yep. That's 5. I won't make you count all of them, but the list is 13. There are 13 players that have a ring on Boise State's team. Riley Smith, Markel Reed, Billy Bowens, George Halani, Shea Whiting, Tyler Crow, Dimitri Washington, Alexander Tubner, DJ Schramm, Ben Dooley, Garrett Curran, Steph Cobbs, and Michael Callahan. Now, some of those players were redshirting, didn't actually even play, but they were on the team and have a ring as Mountain West champions. But the point is, 2019 seems like a long time ago. It's a very long time ago when you think of like 10% of Boise State's roster actually having a Mountain West title going into this season. They haven't won it, obviously, the last 3 years. They've lost in the title game 3 times in the last 5 years, I believe it is. Yeah. It's been a little bit of a struggle. Now they're getting to the title game, so they're putting emphasis on the regular season. They are doing something right for the most part during the regular season. It is a correlation that we should. It's not like they're just, their Mountain West record is still really good. They're getting to the title game. Back in the day when they had the divisions, they were winning the division. But in terms of equating that into titles, 2 titles in the last 8 years, only 3 championships in the 10 years since they started this championship game. Now, that is tied with Fresno State for the most. San Diego State has 2. So I'm not saying they should have, 8 titles in 10 years, but 2-8, 3-10, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that's necessarily where most Boise State fans, where this program is, this standard, as I kind of put in my story. I mean, for a program, Jordan, that kind of prides itself on being the gold standard of the Mountain West in terms of success and revenue and rankings and blue field and uniforms. And, Boise State's kind of seen as the premier team in the Mountain West. 2 titles in the last 8 years. I don't think's enough.
No, they talk about that standard a lot. And if we're going by their standard and the credo that's written on the top of their team room, which is, our goal is to win the Mountain West Conference and a bowl game with blah, 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 blah. That they haven't met it. And that's, I think it speaks to 2 things. It speaks to,
by the way, it's class, integrity, and academic excellence.
Okay. I think it speaks to 2 things. I think the Mountain West in a lot of those years has had a decent enough team. I think the Mountain West has caught up a little bit to Boise State, and Boise State has fallen down a little bit. And all of a sudden you get, years where, kind of like Jordan's saying, beating a Mountain West team twice in the same year is really, really hard. You even see it in the SEC sometimes. A lot of those SEC and Big Ten championships, it's a rematch, and whoever won the first matchup rarely wins the second one. It's a tough deal, and if your team is not far and away better than the opponent, I don't care where you're playing the game at. It's so hard to do it, and you're right that the standard was way, way, way too high, and to try and hold Boise State to the Kellen Moore standard in those early Brian Harsin days when our boy Mike Sanford was running the offense and they're rolling through Mountain West play and winning the championship. I mean, that's just not the day and age we're in, and it's hard because you can get with the transfer portal and stuff. We saw it with Utah State got really good there for a little bit. Fresno State has all of a sudden rebounded. Hell, they lose Jake Kaner, and the quarterback now, Mikey Keene, might be even better.
Yeah,
it's really, really tough. So, but you're right. That's they have not met the standard, the Boise State standard.
Yeah, I don't know what the standard is, because you're right. I don't think 2-8 is enough, but I don't know if you need to win 6 out of 8. I mean, I think once every 2 to 3 years, probably. I mean, I don't know if you want to say 50% of the titles, but
no,
you certainly need to be winning at a higher rate than everybody else in the conference. And you're pretty much equal with San Diego State and Fresno State over the past decade here for the most part. So, as Vlad says, that's another thing to point out. I mean, we're at 16 years now in a row, Jordan, where Boise State was picked before the season to win the league. Probably clicked the wrong one there. Why are we picked every year? Because we have more talent to start, should be winning more. And so, I mean, yeah, based on the preseason expectations, the last 8 years, Jordan, they've been picked first and they've only won 2. So 6 of the last 8 years, they have failed to meet the preseason expectations of this program. So, I mean, it is high standard. I get it. But I think that it does seem like you talk to people like Spencer Danielson. It's a big deal. And I think the quote from, Ashton Genty, it's a big deal to us going into conference play. The mentality is a little bit different because you can't lose any games. One loss, and you may not be able to play in our final goal, the championship game. So every game from here on, we're taking it super serious. Everything we do in practice, a great approach to everything. Dimitri Washington said it means a lot, but I think that, again, it is kind of a little weird thing because they're doing what they need to do in the regular season. They're taking the 1-0 approach. They're getting to the championship game. And then in a 1-game scenario, they're just not losing. So some of this is, I don't say inaccurate or misleading, but some of this is, they're just losing the championship game. So, but you got to get to the championship game, and you would prefer to host it. And that obviously starts with playing well during the regular season yet again. And that starts on Friday night at San Diego State. By the way, the last time Boise State played in San Diego. Don't forget, the game in 2021 was not in San Diego. It was in Carson when they were building this new stadium, Snapdragon Stadium. So you have to go all the way back to 2017. Leighton Vander Esch was still a linebacker for the Broncos. Andy Avalos was the defensive coordinator. And the game was in a stadium that is no longer standing, Qualcomm Stadium. They're one of the worst press boxes I've ever been in there in San Diego. I'm not sad to be upgrading, hopefully, the media there at Snapdragon Stadium. But you got to go back a long ways. And I was looking at that game story from 2017, man. Rocky Long was an absolute gem. He was just calling out his players. He's like, yeah, our offensive line played terrible. He was talking about all these problems, and he sums it up. He goes, yeah, it was a pretty well-rounded loss. So I was enjoying the game story. Avery Williams, there was a lot of NFL players in that game on both sides. Rashad Penny was the running back for San Diego State, and he didn't do much at all against Boise State. Avery Williams had a punt return touchdown. Leighton Vander Esch had a big game. Kanohi Kaniho's brother, Kekala Kaniho, had a punt return or a fumble recovery return for a touchdown on a punt return, I believe. Boise State won that game 31-14 way back in 2017. So this will be Boise State's first trip back. And for guys like Dimitri Washington, Jaden Virgin, I believe Garrett Curran, they've got guys actually from San Diego, and this will be the first time in their careers they're getting to play a game in their hometown. First time that Spencer Danielson has coached a game at Boise in San Diego in 7 years, whatever. I know they played in the Point City Bowl back in 2015 for some of the coaches, but overall, it's been a long time since they've played in San Diego, and they'll do that on Friday night.
That San Diego State staff, defensive staff too, is very underrated. You look at Rocky Long. I think he's the defensive coordinator at Syracuse now. Obviously, great head coach. The defensive coordinator is Danny Gonzalez, who's the head coach of New Mexico, and I think the cornerbacks coach was Tony White, who's now the defensive coordinator at Nebraska. So, I mean, it just goes on and on. Like, that was a really, really good staff full of good minds. To put up 31 points is pretty impressive looking back.
And San Diego State was ranked number 19. That was an upset win for Boise State in that game. And so that was the last time Boise State played in San Diego. And as I said in my story that I'm working on, that was one of the only 2 times in the last 8 years that Boise State has a title. So hopefully going back to San Diego, maybe for Boise State, this will be the start. They have not lost a conference opener since 1999. Boise State has not been 0-1 in conference play dating back to 1999, I believe it is. And you think about it, Jordan, I mean, you got the road trip to Memphis next week. I mean, I'm sure we'll hit on this on the pregame show on Friday, but you're 1-2. You really don't want to be 1-3 going to Memphis next week. This is a pretty big game.
This is a big game, and, I think it helps coaches a lot with their messaging with a win here. If Boise State loses this game, all of a sudden I would think the messaging has to get a little desperate of like, hey guys, we've lost a Mountain West game. Like, all of a sudden our goal, what's written on the wall to win a Mountain West championship, like that is now a little bit in jeopardy. You win against San Diego State, you're 1-0 in Mountain West play. All of a sudden the messaging from the coaches can stay exactly the same. Hey guys, we're on the right path. Keep doing your thing. Our goal is still attainable. We can control our goal. And that's what's at stake, I think, this week more than anything is are the coaches going to be able to keep that buy-in? And you can keep it a heck of a lot easier with a win versus a loss. And with a loss, I think that would require a really, really hard look in the mirror and probably some changes, I would guess, just knowing that a Mountain West loss all of a sudden puts, a title game appearance in pretty grave, desperation, especially with no.
I'm not sure I'd go grave after one game, but I mean, with the no divisions this year, it's the top 2 teams. So you're looking at all other 11 teams, not just the 5 on your side. That does make it tough.
Give you much room to trip
no
up.
doubt.
I suppose if Boise State still goes undefeated in Mountain West play with the 1 loss, they're probably in the title game. I suppose the messaging could kind of stay the same. You beat Fresno State and Wyoming, you're good. But
you're asking for a lot, though, considering the tough games you still have left.
It is no room for error.
Yep.
Especially with how good Wyoming and Fresno State have played. Those are 2 really, those are games where I thought Fresno State was was going to be the toughest game on the schedule. All of a sudden, the Wyoming one. I mean, you're thanking the scheduling gods that it's not in Laramie this year.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
I mean, how fortunate is that? So
yeah.
I think this game is really important for that.
Boise State lost a commit. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Boise State's recent recruiting in an article you just did, and I do want to talk about the Ross Dellinger article, Yahoo Sports, about relegation in college football. But first, a quick word from some of our sponsors. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of premix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. For all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs, check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. CUI more than 500,000 members love ICCU, and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone, get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. And we appreciate all of our sponsors for making this possible here at Bronco Nation News. A little bit surprising news yesterday. Fill us in, Jordan. I know you're locked in on the recruiting scene, but Boise State losing a commit to Texas State.
Yeah, Tice Williams, who was one of Boise State's higher rated commits of the 2024 class, just kind of out of the blue decommitted. And I haven't really heard why. I reached out to Tice and he didn't kind of get back to me. But he got nabbed by Texas State. I mean, I've thought back on the last couple of years and looked it up, and there have not been very many kids who have committed to Boise State and decommitted. That's a testament to how, kind of Brian Harsin recruited a little bit, but also how Andy Avalos recruits is they do not throw offers at the wall willy-nilly. They want to get to know a kid. They want to develop a relationship. And so when they do give the offer, hopefully the kid feels comfortable and confident to commit. You don't see this very often. You especially don't see it for arguably like a step down in competition, if not, on the same page.
It's a step down. I know Texas State, they got a good coach. People like what they're doing there, but let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think people can understand a little like a Zach Wilson situation a little more. Hey, not going to Boise State. I wanted to stay closer to home, go to BYU, be on a national stage, whatever. That makes sense. That's easy. Texas State is that's a weird one. I mean, it's close to home. GJ Kinney, who's a former prolific quarterback in the country, is doing really good things with that program. I mean, he led them to a win over Baylor, probably the biggest win in program history, and has them on the right path. If he's going to be there for more than 2 years, I would be shocked. But yeah, it was a really weird situation.
Jordan says tons of factors, things like the decommitting, personal, family, academic, all kinds of random things. Yeah, we don't know the exact reason, haven't seen him quoted yet, but that does tie in with a story you wrote yesterday, Jordan, about Boise State's recruiting, Andy Avalos, and I love the headline. A lot of young players are playing. Is Brian Harsin to blame? And it is kind of an interesting look at, we've talked so much the last week or two about the Ty Benefields of the world and all these younger guys that are getting chances now as freshmen and sophomores to get in there and play. The Roger Carry-Ons, Cage Casey's on the line, a lot of other guys on both sides of the ball, Breezy Dubar. But is that a factor of Andy Avalos and his staff doing a great job of recruiting and finding guys ready to play? Or is that there weren't enough older guys that were either still here or good enough to play because Brian Harsin and his staff didn't do a good enough job, keeping the cupboard stacked on the way out the door. So interesting story. And, maybe fill folks in about that, BroncoNationNews.com. And you went through and looked at a lot of recent years and kind of made a decision on each guy that came in, did it work out or not? And the numbers were kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think this is one thing when a new coach either has success or failure. The first thing anyone wants to do is say, well, the past head coach, left the cupboard bare, or the past head coach had a stacked team. These are all his players. And it's a tough thing to judge success. I don't know. You kind of look back on those UCF teams with Scott Frost in 2017. There's a really good argument to say that he had a pretty stacked team, and whoever was coaching that team was going to do pretty well. It's hard to argue. I look at Andy Avalos. He's now in year 3, and a lot of coaches say, I've got to get to year 4 when I have 3 full recruiting classes on my team before I can accurately be judged. Because right now I am playing football with someone else's players. So Andy Avalos in year 3, I figured, hey, he's pretty dang close to, getting all that. But you got to remember that, with early signing day and Brian Harsin's departure, Andy Avalos only signed off the 2021 class, 3 or 4 guys. I mean, some of them were pretty good. I think he signed Will Farr from Texas Tech. I think he signed Cyrus Habibi-Likio and Andrew Simpson in that class. But no, it's a pretty tough argument to say that Brian Harsin left the cupboard bare for Andy Avalos. You look at that 2021 recruiting class, and it's full of guys. I think Marco Notriani was on that in that class. Taylon Green, Eric McAllister. I mean, there are Shea Oladipo, I think, was the class right before that. There were plenty of guys. Ahmed Hassanin was in that 2021 class. Mason Randolph was in that 2021 class. They have dudes. And so it's a pretty tough argument to say they left the cupboard bare. Now, where I think it is interesting, and I know Derek Morales has pointed this out, the defensive line recruiting, I mean, I maybe I should have done a better job pointing it out. I kind of gave people the ability to just, go look at it. But there were a lot of defensive linemen that did not work out.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. There were also a lot of 4-stars that didn't work out. I know, fans sometimes get really up in arms sometimes when Boise State goes and grabs this 2-3-star kid that only had offers from, Princeton and Yale. But it's every time they've gone on these 4-stars, it's they've missed it a 80% clip. It's crazy. Really, the only guys they've were successful with were Khalil Shakir. You can kind of say Hank Bachmeier, and I think George Halani was a 4-star.
Yeah.
Aside from that, there's almost 10 others that didn't hit the mark, and the defensive line, you're starting to see it right now. I mean, Brian Harsin did not do a very good job at the end of his tenure recruiting the defensive line. Wide receivers, there weren't many of them. There were not many of them. You look at the guys who did end up signing, Billy Bowen, Steph Cobbs, 2019, great. But man, they did not have a lot of names that ended up being significant contributors. And so when you start to see, position groups struggle right now, it's very telling when you go back 3 years ago and say, oh, there was a miss.
Yep.
And so, it's pretty interesting to go back and look.
Sky Ship says Jordan Kaye doesn't miss on this stuff. Great investigating and reporting. If you think that's the case, just wait for the next day or two for some of the stuff coming out. Vlad, thank you, Jordan, for stating that the lineman didn't pan out. I've argued that we need a recruiter who's an expert lineman recruiter.
I will say, though, the offensive line recruits did work. I mean, they have worked out. You look at Tim Keene. He got Roger Carrion in the building. He got Cage Casey in the building.
Yep.
He's got what he thinks is, some pretty good freshmen in Jason Steele and a couple other guys coming in. So they're, let's say defensive lineman recruiter. If you want to put that, that's fine. And
Yeah.
we'll give Eric Chenander a couple years to figure everything out too.
Somebody was asking about Latrell Caples out for the season with an injury. So that happened over the summer. Latrell Caples out for the season due to an injury. So that is why he has not been part of the mix at receiver. We think Austin Bolt might be getting a little closer. We don't really know what's going on there, but the thought was it was going to be a couple weeks and maybe he'd come back. No idea about George Halani, but I'm just guessing it ain't going to be for a while. Based on just my eyes. So we'll see. But we did see some video and video is out there, so we can say it. I mean, but you saw at least maybe one injury on the line. Mason Randolph maybe going to be back on Friday, which would be a big boost. We have video up there, Jordan. He's practicing at left guard, or at least was yesterday. So that would be a big boost if they could get Mason back.
Definitely, especially Ben Dooley went out against what team was that? UCF and didn't play against North Dakota, and so you got to think his status is up in the air. To be able to get Mason Randolph, another experienced dude, to fill in right away, that's the depth that Boise State wants at every position. And to be able to have that at offensive line is huge, especially because, Randolph, he was getting run at center early in fall camp before he went down, and he just didn't look comfortable. I mean, he was really struggling just snapping the ball. And so to allow him to ease in and go back to a guard position that he played a lot last year.
And played well.
Played really well. So I think that's beneficial, not only for Boise State, but Randolph as he gets back.
All right, what do we make of the new Yahoo Sports Ross Dellinger article, Relegation Within College Football? We'll discuss that in just a second. But first, Ball Ventures, Allquist, BVA. Be on the lookout October 5th. We're going to be doing a show at Topgolf. We'll get Mike Prater out there on the simulator. Maybe we get Jordan Kaye to make a special appearance, show us how it's done there as well. October 5th, we'll be doing our show at Topgolf. More details to come. But Idaho's developer is BVA, and we appreciate their support of Bronco Nation News. Go check out Topgolf, Eagle View Landing, all the things they have coming. We'll be telling you more about them moving forward, and be on the lookout for that live broadcast on October 5th. Lithia Ford of Boise, one of our main sponsors as well. You see Paige Barsh there with her Bronco Sport as part of an NIL deal. They also take care of Talon Green and Riley Smith with F-150s as well. So view their full inventory of vehicles at lithiafordboise.com. That now includes the EVs, the all-electric F-150 Lightnings. Make sure you check them out, lithiafordboise.com, for more information. If you need a job, check out TCS, Transportation Compliance Service. They can help you every step of the way to get into the trucking industry, whether it's the big rig on your screen, the Amazon truck in your neighborhood. Check them out, TCS, Transportation Compliance Service. Our friends at Taco Bell, we got a live broadcast coming up there as well. We will be at Taco Bell October 7th for the pregame show for the San Jose State game. So we are looking forward to that. We'll be at Taco Bell passing out free tacos. Make plans to come stop by the Taco Bell on Broadway before the San Jose State game. I think we'll be there from 3 to 5, and the game is at 6. So stop on by on your way to the stadium. Just pull into the parking lot, get a taco or two, say hello to us, register to win some prizes. We appreciate Taco Bell. Check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. They've donated more than $300,000 to the student-athlete scholarships for the men's and women's basketball team over a 5-year period. So they're donating a lot of money, helping out the local community. So check them out at Taco Bell. And if you need some Boise State gear, the blueandorangestore.com, free shipping, any order over $40. Make sure you check them out at the blueandorangestore.com. And if you're in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall. They're on the second floor next to Pro Image. All the new latest hats, Nike, jerseys, bumper stickers, anything Boise State related that you need, they've got them for you. And they'll help you out at the Blue and Orange Store and the blueandorangestore.com. All right. Jordan, we saw the article last night. Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports with an interesting article. Promotion and relegation in college football, a game-changing idea could help save the Pac-12. For folks that have not read the story, the simple 20-second Cliff Notes version, the Mountain West, the Pac-12 would partner. It'd be one kind of giant conference with basically 2 divisions, but 2, conferences that would work together. They would have to add 2 teams to make this work. The story says the most likely would be North Dakota State and South Dakota State. You get to 16 teams. You put 8 teams in the Pac-12, 8 teams in the Mountain West. And every year, based on a point system and a head-to-head competition, in some cases, you would have 2 teams from the Mountain West move up to the Pac-12 and 2 teams from the Pac-12 move down to the Mountain West, and the difference would be the amount of money for your athletic department. You would get more money out of the TV deal, and it wouldn't be a ton, but you're talking maybe $8 or $9 million as opposed to 5 or 6. So you're talking about a $2 or $3 extra million a year to the teams that are in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 would be considered the better league as well. So you win the Pac-12, all of a sudden you've got a chance potentially to be in the college football playoff and have a better situation there moving forward. So very interesting model. Your strength of schedule would be better if you're in the Pac-12. You would just play those top 7 teams, sprinkle in a couple other games. There'd be a bracket buster type weekend where, like in November, they just kind of match teams together based on some different criteria. And then essentially a championship game to see who moves up to the Pac-12 and who moves down to the Mountain West, relegation style, kind of similar to what we saw in Ted Lasso and what happens in the Premier League over there. So when you read this article, I know there's I wouldn't say it's likely, I wouldn't say it's even semi-likely, but just in general, this idea and the fact that they're talking about it, what do you make about it, Jordan?
I mean, my first impression was this is super gimmicky.
You would say that. You would say that.
Does anyone want this? Who was asking for this? The more I thought about it, though, the more I was I could kind of get behind it. It's the Pac-12 right now is in kind of desperate times. They need creative ideas. They need fun ideas to make sure that they survive. And if this is something that would allow, Boise State or San Diego State or hell, even Wyoming, hey, if you move up and you're in the Pac-12, would the Pac-12, I guess the thing I would need to know is, does the Pac-12 still get an automatic qualifier to the college football playoff? Do you know?
Don't know the answer to that. Doesn't say.
That'd be a huge part of it. If not, I guess it's fun. I think it would maybe create more interest with TV stuff. But I don't know to what extent. Is this just going to be something where it's those are the schools kind of duking it out for, relegation, or is it going to be an actual thing that people care about, like a playoff race? I don't know. I think the NBA is doing they tried to do that. What are they? The play-in games. It's they kind of get ratings, but very few people actually care.
Oh, I think if you had a game to decide whether or not you were moving conferences or not on a,
sure.
I think the relegation, it won't happen. I don't think it'll happen because as a couple of the unnamed athletic directors in the story we're talking about, if your budget is $8 million one year, you're going to plan on $8 million the next year. And if you get sent down to the Mountain West and all of a sudden you only get $5 million, and now you're $3 million in the hole because you didn't win enough. I could see that being a little bit of a challenge. I would say you should just plan for the smaller number, and then if something happens, you move up. But I think it's great. It shows what we've all thought. Gloria Nevarez, an outward thinker, is creative, coming up with some different ideas. I think it's an awesome idea, and it does preserve the Pac-12 assets, the Pac-12 money, the Pac-12 network. It preserves the Mountain West name and brand and everything that they have going for them in terms of the NCAA tournament units that San Diego State brought to the table last year and some of the other things. So it's a way to keep both conferences alive with the same teams you have now. And because that's the problem, you have to have at least 4 teams, I believe it is, to be counted as a technical conference. You get a little bit of a grace period, but it would be 8-8. You'd have to add 2 more teams. And as I said, the North Dakota State, South Dakota State are possible. But it is a very creative way to keep both brands, keep both conferences, and keep all the money that comes with it in the short term. Whether or not college athletics is actually ready for a time where you're moving. And, the basic thing is it's basically, and by the way, we have a poll question up on the YouTube channel. Feel free, do you like this system? Yes or no, this idea, get your answer there in the YouTube poll question. But it's, they're still technically under the same umbrella. So it's not like you're actually getting demoted to like, the SWAC or something or whatever, some other, the Sun Belt. I mean, these two leagues are partners. You're going to play the same teams. It's kind of just the division that you're in, or, if you want to look at it that way. So I don't think it's as big as if it were like 5 years ago when it was just, hey, if you win the Mountain West, you move up to the Pac-12. If not, you're moving down. All of a sudden you're, not the gap wouldn't be as big in my opinion as maybe it would have been. So if they can figure out a way to make the money work, I love the idea. I think it makes some games way more interesting. I think you can probably get more TV dollars to have some of these relegation games, extra de facto championship games on the line. If you win the Mountain West Championship, you automatically get to go, and then the second and third place teams are the ones that actually play the game to decide who's the second team that goes up. I think it's awesome. I think the fifth and sixth or seventh and eighth place teams are fighting, or I guess if you're last place, if you're eighth, you automatically move down. And then if you're seventh or sixth, you're playing in a game to say who stays in the Pac-12 and who loses $3 million and goes down to the Mountain West. I don't know how likely it is, but I think it's a fascinating idea. It really is.
If the numbers, if by doing this, every team is automatically getting an extra $2 million, if their TV deal goes from $4 million to $6 million with the possibility of $8 million, that's enticing. And, my first thought is university presidents are never going to go for this. Football coaches, athletic directors, they've got open ears. They're like, hey, I'll listen. It sounds interesting. And every football coach is going to say, well, we're never going to get relegated. We'll be fine. But there's got to be, the presidents is probably who has to come around with it. You mentioned the budget thing. They do not like things that are up in the air. A lot of them do not like things that are wishy-washy a little bit of, hey, our budget could be this one year and this the next year. I mean, you heard it with Larry Scott where, the Pac-12 TV deal was promising all this money, and then what actually came in was far different. And the university presidents are like, some of them are like basically going into debt because of it. And so it's one thing where, maybe if it was just more money, an extra $2 million regardless, the presidents kind of have to look back and say, all right, this is worth it. And if we do bake it up and get to the Mountain West or the Pac-12, then that could work, then it's even more money.
Jordan says add salary cap so the extra revenue can only be for capital items, not painful cuts to the staff. I could see that. Yeah, obviously, if you get relegated, you don't want all of a sudden have to cut a sport because you got sent down to the Mountain West.
Wouldn't that? Jordan would know this more, but wouldn't a salary cap at a coach's salary break some law of free market? I
don't know the answer to that. By the way, Boise doesn't seem like a very positive person, man. You got to cheer up, man. He's always, every comment looks like it's negative from this dude. He thinks they're going to lose, going to not win the Mountain West. Now it won't happen. Better things to talk about. So, Boise, appreciate you for watching, but come on, man. Start bringing some more positivity to the YouTube chat here. But Jordan, we got to wrap it up. We got interviews coming up in a little bit. We got some players. I don't know if we've seen the list yet, but we've got some players that'll be talking after practice today here in about an hour and a half or so. Looking forward to that and continuing to get you ready for the game on Friday. If you missed the Tyson Degenhart show last night, hopefully you will go back and watch. Great stuff with Andrew Meadow and Chris Lockett, two of the new freshmen, one-on-one with Tyson, getting to know him a little bit. They kind of asked each other some questions, had a little roundtable discussion. I thought it was great stuff. So go back and check out the Tyson Degenhart show on the Bronco Nation News YouTube channel if you missed it last night. And, of course, Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny was great on Monday night as well. Go back and check that out from Monday night if you're looking for some insight from a former coach, longtime coach, Mike Sanford, in terms of the win over North Dakota. And then he does a good job breaking down San Diego State as well heading into Friday's game. So, Jordan, appreciate it. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Thank you to everybody for checking us out. Go subscribe. We'd love to have you. $50 for a full year. BNN 50 deal. That's right. Just use the promo code BNN 50 deal when you sign up for the yearly membership. Brings the total down to $50. That's less than $1 a week to read all of Jordan's content. And he has an awesome story on Eric McAllister coming out here this week that you're not going to want to miss, but you got to be a subscriber to read. So BNN 50 deal. Sign up. BroncoNationNews.com. This is a limited time offer. And we'd love to have you subscribe. Jump on in. Jordan needs 43 more subscribers to hit his next goal. So we need 43 of you to sign up, and that'll get Jordan Kaye some more money in his pocket. So help out Jordan, support him, sign up, and read our work. We'd love to have you. And, of course, these social media shows are free. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel down there at the bottom of the screen. That's free, and this is kind of your our gift to you is these YouTube shows. Thank you to all of our sponsors. So have a great rest of your day. We'll get the player interviews up on YouTube. Jordan and I have more content coming to BroncoNationNews.com. Go subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.